When it comes to restaurant choices, Italian and Japanese are well established on the American dining scene. But something unique has been popping up in cities coast to coast, a melding of the two traditions called Wafu Italian. It's well known in Japan, but now chefs in the U.S. are taking it on and making it their own, including Robbie Felice at the newly opened Pasta Ramen in New Jersey. In this kitchen, a melding of tastes and techniques from thousands of miles apart. Ramen shrimp scampi with ponzu, tonkatsu bruschetta, and pork chop scallopini. Curiosity alone about Japanese-style Italian cuisine, known as Wafu Italian, had diners buzzing here in Montclair, New Jersey, where as they step inside Pasta Ramen, they walk onto the streets of Tokyo.
Service.
Chef Robbie Felice. When we hear the name Pasta Ramen, it's not like you're just making Italian recipes with ramen noodles.
No, absolutely not.
What the 32-year-old is making is fueling the fight for reservations months in advance.
If I make a Wafu Italian dish, I put you on the spot right away and say, is it Japanese or Italian? And if you have that slight pause for 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds, that's Wafu Italian, where you can't really tell me what it is. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's been times where I create a dish and if someone just says, oh, it's Italian, then I'm like, oh, like I messed up. I have to go back to the drawing board and I have to make this a little bit more Japanese. So I definitely think if there's that almost like slight confusion where someone can't tell what it is, then that means I did my job right.
Confusion never tasted so good. A signature dish, a chewy mochi carbonara ramen, tossed with sesame, togarashi, lemon, and Parmesan cheese, mixed tableside with egg yolk. You can't just eat it like normal ramen. All right, there's a little slurpiness to it.
You gotta be able to slurp it.
Well, in Japan, that's a sign of appreciation of a good dish, is how much you slurp the food.
Yeah. Especially ramen.
Slurping isn't necessary for these noodles. Croquette ramen.
It's basically a deep-fried ramen ball. So we take ramen and we mix it with basically a Wafu Italian bolognese. Ready?
I am. How do you do this? Just
dive in.
Just bite into it? Oh, wow. That is not what I expected at all.
It's gonna be nice and ooey gooey when you bite into it, and then we're going over the top with a shabu shabu sauce, tons of fresh herbs and garlic, and then we just top it off with a little Parmesan Reggiano. Unexpected flavors that help make the restaurant an instant hit. After training in 2 Michelin-starred kitchens, Felice, a James Beard nominee, was inspired to start Wafu Italian pop-ups before throwing open the doors to Pasta Ramen earlier this year. Service.
It's part of a wave of Wafu Italian restaurants showing up across the country. They've been opening to great acclaim in the past couple years especially, but they're far from revolutionary. In Japan, thousands of restaurants have been spearheading the culinary niche, also known as itameshi, for decades. Everyone has a different version of how it started, including upscale restaurants turning to Italian food as a cheaper alternative during hard financial times. But the style is clearly here to stay. At Yomenya Gomon, a national chain that started in the 1970s, spaghetti is served with non-traditional ingredients like raw egg, nori, and grated yams. Noodles are also tossed in ham, bamboo shoots, soy sauce, and butter. Flavors Japanese-American restaurant owner Daisuke Utagawa remembers fondly.
My first experience with Wafu Italian, it goes way back. I think I was in elementary school in Tokyo.
Inspiration stuck. Utagawa opened Tanari, a Wafu Italian restaurant in Washington, D.C., about a year and a half ago, and says both cuisines emphasize enhancing simple ingredients from the bountiful land and sea.
There's a lot of similarity between Japanese food and Italian food, especially in its approach to nature, philosophically also. I think we sort of work to enhance what the nature giveth.
And this, Utagawa says, may only be the start of a new phenomenon.
A long time ago, there was tempura and sukiyaki, right? The GIs brought back. And then came sushi in the 80s. It was a novelty, like raw fish, So what's next, right? And this is easier to understand than some of the very esoteric dishes in Japan that you find. It's in a perfect position.
There's also inspiration from Italy's Italian-Japanese cuisine. That's where Felice first encountered it while training in kitchens.
You tried this food for the first time and you thought, I gotta do this.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I wasn't thinking anything of it. I was young, probably thinking about what am I gonna eat today because I have no money, just traveling around Europe. But I definitely tried dishes in Italy that had Japanese influences or Asian influences, but never really thought anything of it. Just like, oh, this is cool. They're putting yuzu on a crudo in Positano. Obviously there's not yuzu here, but they're doing it.
His time there inspired dishes like cacio e pepe gyoza, handcrafted Japanese dumplings stuffed with a blend of 4 cheeses.
Careful, it's hot.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. There is no graceful way to eat that, but who cares?
A delicious celebration of the 2 powerhouse cuisines, oceans apart, blending together with plenty in common after all.
Well, cheers.
Cheers. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
It's funny because when you think Japanese and Italian food, they do seem so different from each other, but it makes sense whenever you put it all together. And it's all about this melding. So it's not one flavor over the other.
Well, it's
What do we got? What do we-
too.
Go-
Oh, go ahead. No, go right
digging
ahead.
into
I wanna
the
see what we
food.
have
And
here.
rightfully so, because we have a few dishes here from Chef Robbie Felice. You're eating right there the Kazuri Ramen alla vongole, which is has clams, pancetta, and it's basically
Wow, that's
soaked
good.
into a miso soup.
Oh my gosh.
And then I also want to point out the gyoza that we were making right there that you have in your hand,
Yeah,
Michelle.
this is the one you really love.
Yes, cacio e pepe gyoza, 4 cheeses. All you need to know.